When a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
because I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying. And if you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital here in Abuja. Let's take a look at the papers this morning and the stories on the front pages there. On Daily Trust, for instance, you see the lead story is political. It says, confusion as Jonathan rejects APC presidential forms. The writer says a joint ruling party in 2021. Northern governors paid for forms. Miyetti Allah denies involvement. Ex-president did not authorize purchase. And that's according to the spokesman of the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. Silva Ayade Lawan picks forms. Court declines Emefiele's request, summons INEC and AGF. You'll find the details of all of that on page 5 and page 11. Now, above the masthead, no, rather below the masthead, you'd see Sokoto Zamfara government schools. Okay, Sokoto Zamfara government schools not registered for SSCE, and that's according to WAEC. Aviation fuel, airline operators to get 3 months supply at 480 Naira, according to the NNPC. Recall that the airline operators had initially threatened to embark on an industrial action, but quickly, I believe that there was some kind of negotiation.
In fact, the House of Representatives, remember, they even issued out a notice calling for an emergency meeting that was supposed to hold on Monday, but later on Sunday they said they were able to reach some kind of agreement with the aviation workers, and that was why the emergency session for Monday did not hold. So there was that
So I believe that
intervention.
this is the agreement that the NNPC will be supplying aviation fuel to airline operators for 3 months at the cost of 400.
What happens after 3 months, though?
18 Naira. Well, we'll get to see. We'll
Because
cross the bridge
because the
when we
stopgap
get there.
approach may not just, maybe while the stopgap approach is there, it's important for them to look at the long haul, what's going to happen, because if after 3 months you stop the 480, stop giving them the product at 480, what happens? If you,
And guess what? These airline operators knows just when to strike, isn't it? Look at the politics that is happening now.
just
After all, the political elites will be needing airplanes to fly around
I was
the country,
so
isn't it?
sure. I was so sure they were not going to shut down the airspace, because I was like, the political elite will not let that happen. This is their time. They need to travel from Lagos to Abuja. They need to go to Abuja to
And you could
Lagos.
see
They
how
need to
swift,
go around.
yeah, the
exactly.
intervention is.
Yes, and I wish that's the kind of sweetness with which every other issue.
And crashing the
is
price
handled.
from I think
It was
about
700,
or so,
7 as at Sunday, yes.
and now 480
Yeah.
in the next 3 months. Well, that's
You just
quite
wonder.
interesting.
You
I
just
wish
wonder
that
why
that would
certain
happen.
issues are given more priority than others. Is it because it affects? Is it because certain people are affected when?
And I wish that happens to other sectors.
To every
such
other
as
issue.
Education. I mean, we are talking about. Look at below the pictorial now, for instance. Students threaten showdown as ASU extends strike by 3 months. So
And that is
3
when
months has gone already.
3 months has gone, and
They are
then they
now
will,
declaring that another
that'll be
3
6 months in
Exactly.
an academic year.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
you could see where that is. Now, talking about other stories at the very bottom there. Man rapes Facebook friend, threatens to release nude pictures. What a blackmail. NATO demands compensation for truck burnt in Anambra. Abuja Kaduna train attack. Victims' families seek negotiation with terrorists. Now, to the big story, the story about Goodluck Jonathan. A lot of people didn't see this coming. Or rather, I would say, it has always been like a rumor.
With the rumor that has been going on for the past 1 month.
And only for us to see people you know, having such confidence to go as far as purchasing form to
You know,
candidate. Well, it's Goodluck Jonathan, an APC member.
Exactly. You know, there are so many issues here because even if Goodluck Jonathan were to defect to the APC today, I mean, does it qualify to run for the next election? Because I want to believe that the APC has its guidelines of when you're to be, how long you're supposed to have been a member of the party. Of course, we have had instances where parties waived that condition and allowed new members to pick forms, and some of those new members ended up becoming the candidates of the party. However, this was a bit too sudden. The story yesterday, joins APC, picked presidential nomination form.
You know, I've always known and I've always felt this whole issue about Jonathan contesting for president in 2023, I never took it seriously, really, because I always felt that, look, it cannot be.
Well,
how could it be?
I never dismissed it totally because it's Nigeria. Anything can happen. You know, look at the way the APC chairman emerged. You know, before he emerged, the current APC chairman, there were so many other names that we were almost sure one of them was going to be picked, and he wasn't picked. So it's Nigeria, right?
But I mean, by now, well, just yesterday we got a statement from the spokesman of Jonathan saying that if he was interested in running for any election, he wouldn't do so through the back door.
Yeah.
You know, so it's clear that, you know, there's no intention to actually vie for
and
any
I want to
position
believe that someone of his caliber, he would actually come out and say, this is what I want to do, not so, people going to buy the form for him.
Exactly. So it's just, I believe it's
but then, Ayuba, what is the rationale behind these people going to buy forms? And who are these people that are buying these forms? Who? The ordinary Nigerian?
Well, it cannot be the ordinary Nigerian.
Because the ordinary Nigerian, the last time I checked, most people were struggling under the harsh economic situation.
Exactly.
Who are these ordinary Nigerians that are now buying forms?
100 million naira
only,
is not...
only on...
You don't pick it on the floor.
Only at the weekend, farmers bought... It was, I mean, alleged that farmers bought form for the sitting CBN governor. I know that, yes, some farmers benefited from the ankle borers and all of that, but I also know that a lot of farmers are groaning under the insecurity and a lot of them cannot go to farms. And I was thinking, how were these farmers able to raise 100 million to buy farm?
Well, I'm wondering, maybe, just maybe, this is
only yesterday.
Maybe the ankle borers' money, you know,
it's a loan. It's supposed to be a loan, right? That they are supposed to pay back.
Exactly. So
are they supposed to use it to buy forms? You know,
who knows?
Only yesterday, another group bought form for the Minister of State for Petroleum, Timi Presilva, and I saw him with a form saying, "Okay, I'm going to start consultation."
Well, people are always the ones buying the forms for the.
That's why I'm wondering why nobody has bought for me actually.
Well, that's for you. But for some of us, we believe, I believe somehow someone has bought the form. I just don't know
and kept it somewhere.
Yes, I just don't know about it. Maybe the person wants to give me a surprise or something like that. Well, let's take a look at other stories of interest there. The issue, well, we'll be looking at the issue of ASUU much later on the program in more details. But for now, other stories are quite interesting. Sokoto Zamfara government schools not registered for SSCE WAEC. Well, should we be worried about that?
We should. That's the lives of the future of many students. I mean, that's uncertainty around the future of many students. And like the exam body said, they said the reasons are unknown to them. They don't know why.
But private schools have paid, though.
Yes, private schools have paid. And that goes back to this thing of some state governments offering to pay these WAEC fees. You know, several times, certain people have argued that maybe parents should just be allowed to pay because we have had instances where some state governments offered to pay and at the end of the day, they did not pay. And in some instances, results were even withheld because the state governments did not pay.
Well, we'll see how all of that. For now, let's take a look at more stories on our front pages.
Should we look at maybe the leadership newspapers? Yes. The leadership newspaper, its biggest story there says 2023 presidency. Jonathan's picture with APC chairman Adamu sparks membership controversy. Then we have the story at the top, 500 billion demand. Prepare for worst fuel scarcity, Ipman tells Nigerians. Insurgency may not last beyond May 2023. That's a positive one there from the military. We also have the story, Miyiti Allah questions spending of cattle ranch funds by states. If you want to see that story, have details of it. It's on page 7 of the Leadership newspaper. Then we have the story here, pension funds placement in banks hits 2.14 trillion naira. This again on the WAEC situation in Sokoto and Zamfara. Sokoto Zamfara students barred from WAEC exams over non-payment of fees. ASU extends strike by 3 months. ASU to down tools tomorrow. Ayuba, this picture, the president and the former president Goodluck Jonathan and the APC chairman.
Yeah,
an interesting one.
Yeah, and he's raising, suspicion. And I'm wondering what's happening there. The lead story says Jonathan's picture with APC chairman Adamu sparks membership controversy. So it gives credence to what the rumor that we've been hearing about.
Maybe they met.
Goodluck Jonathan joining the APC.
Maybe they met for something else. Just
perhaps.
a picture, right?
I believe so.
It could be for anything. It's just like, these days, because of the rumor and everything, anything you see sparks your interest. Like, what's going on here?
Yes,
it could just be a friendly meeting.
And it's looking like some of such engagement is becoming more and more obvious between the former president and the APC leaders these days.
Yes, I've seen a couple of that.
Even more than that of the PDP.
Yes, not too long ago, some APC leaders also visited him at his house.
So maybe that's why people are spreading this.
Because this rumor is there, anything that looks like will be blown up and people will want to talk about it, True. Because when I look at this picture, I'm thinking, could it just be a friendly meeting? Even the friendly meeting at this time, again,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another scary one on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, 500 billion naira demand. Prepare for worst fuel scarcity, Ipman tells Nigerians.
That means this excuse we are seeing may just be a joke, right?
Well, I hope not. I hope it doesn't get to as bad as it's been painted here. If you say worst fuel scarcity, I can only imagine what's the worst that can happen.
Exactly.
Really, in such a scenario where you do not have that fuel, it means the country is going to literally shut down.
Yeah.
That's what it means. People will not be able to move around.
Yeah.
Go to their places of work, and people may not be able to even afford, commodities in the market. Yeah. Inflation is likely to increase. More than what we are seeing now, which is already a very difficult
tough
one
situation
for many
Nigerians already.
So I hope it doesn't get worse than it is.
I hope so
right
too.
Now.
I hope whatever the problem is, the federal government steps in immediately to address it, whatever it is.
True. I hope so. Well, we'll take a look at more papers this morning, and the Punch newspaper this morning leads with the presidential beat story. It says, INEC, CBN partnership under threat over Emefiele's APC membership. You would see also the writers saying, commission to review CBN's role may move ballot papers from bank's vault. CBN can't be trusted with sensitive materials under Emefiele, NBA, and civil society organizations are saying. No fear over Apex Bank governor's presidential bid, ex-INEC commissioner. So you could see where the direction of these Emefiele's candidature is taking. When people are already beginning to cast, when it's beginning to cast doubt over the integrity of our elections,
the materials
that
will be stored at
it's a huge problem.
It is indeed a huge
when
problem.
A CBN governor is seen to be partisan, then what will happen with the elections? definitely it's going to
yesterday,
dent the credibility of our election.
You know, yesterday the CBN governor was in court, and then his argument in court was that he went to challenge the legality or otherwise of his running for the election, and his argument through his lawyer Ozehome was that he's a public servant, not a political appointee, which therefore means that he can resign just a month to the election. But then this is totally different. The CBN that's the nation's vault.
Exactly.
And he cannot afford to be partisan. That's the way I see it. In fact, I'm just even wondering how investors, how foreigners are looking at the country at the moment, and how safe they feel with their investments. And, someone at that level should not be partisan. That's what I think.
It shouldn't be partisan. A lot of people have pointed to the laws, the very laws that we are using to argue. So some said that the act establishing the Central Bank of Nigeria has provisions that, totally frowns at this.
There's also even the moral issue. It just doesn't sit well.
And the public service rules.
There's also the public service rules.
A lot of people have said the public service rules also has clearly made provisions that do not support these. So you cannot even argue it in court. I mean, if you go to the court and say you are not a political appointee. You are a public servant. In this climate, what's the difference?
And in any case, what's wrong with him actually resigning and going for the position if he actually wants it? He has been CBN governor for over 6 years, almost 7 years, or thereabout. So I think if he actually wants to run, he can resign.
Yes, but that will be in his argument now. If the court is to grant what he is arguing, is that he only gets to resign 30 days to the election. So that's in 2023, after all the campaigns.
I don't even know how
CBN governor. Imagine campaigning alongside
other people. And then even the party, the party is going to feel like the party may have some advantage over other parties, because I mean, if I'm in a party and then the CBN governor, a sitting CBN governor, not a former CBN governor, is running on the platform, of my party, I think it's not a level playing field.
Exactly.
By any
we are not
stroke
just
of the
talking
imagination.
about any other agency.
Not
we are talking about the money bank. We are talking about the bankers' bank.
Yes.
That make all the regulations
and then again,
all the control.
and then look at this argument. INEC materials are going to be stored at the CBN, and then imagine the CBN governor in the same election where the INEC materials are stored under him.
I doubt if we're going to see fair play. Under that, and that's the fear of many.
Yes.
And so this shouldn't be entertained. I hope that the courts, weighed in on this as soon as possible. Let's take a look at other stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Jet A1, NNPC, airlines agree on 3-month supply at 480 naira per litre. You also have refineries probe reps grill silver carry today as appearance compulsory. Says appearance is compulsory. Fail queues persist in Abuja. Petrol sells for 300 naira per litre. Well, I actually bought it 400 naira per litre.
Was it from a petrol station or from black marketers?
Not exactly from a petrol station, but from black marketers. But one thing that I find a bit confusing is that if you move down to the southeastern part of the country, fuel
that's like their constant price.
Yes.
No, it's not about there's no fuel right now. That's what they yes.
It's the norm. You buy fuel, it's 250 and thereabout for a litre. And nobody's
and it's like the norm. People don't even talk about it at all. It's,
exactly. And I'm wondering
why is it that way?
And why are they not even bothered?
Why do they think it's okay?
Yes. And all that. So perhaps those are issues that we may need to interrogate as we go further. Now, take a look at this. APC rules out imposition. Groups pick Jonathan Lawan's forms. Groups are always the ones speaking.
We need to
the
unmask
forms.
these groups. Who are these groups? It's time to unmask the groups.
Yes, you know. And yesterday, we also have the CAC boss also made some comments on, you know, the fact that registered groups, you know, or companies using their platform to purchase forms for politicians, you know, that's a contradiction, you know, with the provisions, you know, that
they're not supposed to do that, right?
Yes, that enables, you know, bodies to operate in such a manner.
But what I don't even understand is why would groups not allow the individuals to purchase these forms themselves? Because, you know, if, for instance, I want to run for presidency, I should be able to take on the assets and liabilities, right? I should be able to buy my form.
Yeah, well, it's all about, you know, supporters, right? You have it's all about, it's like saying, oh, okay, I have supporters. I have people who
I
really
think politicians are using it as a popularity stunt now. Okay,
exactly.
I'm popular, I have people that are asking me. But I think that it's time for politicians to stop it because Nigerians can see right through it. Honestly, Nigerians are seeing right through it, and it's time for them to stop it.
Whatever it is, even if it's a strategy, I'm not sure if it's going to work again because it's now...
This particular strategy of somebody... In fact, I saw a picture of someone crying after a group bought a form for him. Enough of it. They should stop it.
Well, let's take a look at some more stories. You'd see the pictorial there showing you, you know, students protesting ASUU strike. It says, in Lagos, Benin, students vow to storm National Assembly and airports to protest, you know, these incessant strike actions by ASUU. At the very bottom, you'll see the stories talking about Tinubu, Atiku, lobby delegates, promise to tackle nation's disunity. NYSC controversy, Kwara Poli blames hacker, impostor declared wanted. Abducted train passengers' families seek government's intervention. So it's quite a tight corner for many of these family members because they do not have, I mean, the abductors are not open to negotiating with the family members, at least from what we know so far. And then, you know, government on the other hand is also not, well,
and it's over a week now when during the Salah homage that the president gave that directive that the security agencies should ensure that they continuously brief the families on, talk to them on what is being done to rescue their people. I wonder how far that is going.
Yes. Well, it's not been a good one. Yesterday, we saw, you know, from the family members, it doesn't look like there have been that much of engagement
between both of them,
as we would like to see. But well, it's a sad experience that many of them are actually having to live with.
And as I said last week, you know, one of them, the one we spoke to, you know, he was optimistic. He said that the message by the president gave him a lot of hope. And I'm wondering, between that time and now, it's as if everything has gone quiet again.
It has. Well, we hope that the abductees will be released as soon as possible. Let's take a look at more papers.
It can't be too soon anymore because they have been there for over a month.
Yes.
It can't be too soon. I mean, I hope everything is done to get them out.
All right, let's take a look at more papers.
Let's look at the blueprint. The blueprint has a story here that says, the kicker said, as Fulani Almajiri Group picks presidential forms for Jonathan, Lawan joins Badaru, Yerima to boost North's candidacy in APC primaries. Then we have a story here. ASUU extends strike by 3 months. Federal government begs union. Fuel scarcity bites harder. Commuters, motorists stranded in Abuja. Then we have a story here. 36 levies, taxes hanging on MTN, Glo, Airtel, others. Then we have this other story here. Internet fraudster bags 2-year jail term in Benin. NPC to conduct trial census in June. Post-COVID-19 recovery in Africa requires collective effort. This is coming from the president. Ayuba, this story again, ASU extends strike by 3 months.
Yeah, I mean,
Federal government begs union.
we hope to see what, will come out of this. The sad thing is that we are not seeing as much engagement between the federal government and ASU. And also the concern is that whether whatever has been agreed upon will be implemented at the end of the day.
My fear right now is the fact that this renewed strike, these 3 months is coming at this point where it appears all attention have been shifted to politics. And I'm wondering, is anybody actually going to sit down and look into the ASU issue at this point? Well,
from the last we heard, the president has mandated his chief of staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and the Minister of Education.
Don't forget that the Minister of State for Education. Don't forget that the Minister of State for Education has picked nomination form for the elections.
I agree with you, and a lot of people find that disappointing. That when the country is dealing with, when ASU, for instance,
your direct employees
are picking forms, which is why, a lot of people are saying, well, why is it that even people that haven't even declared intention to run for the elections are picking forms?
Well, for me, if you pick form, you have declared. Because, declaring is one, but once you pick the form, I just feel that...
Well, which should come first?
You're supposed to declare first, but if I pick the form and I say I've picked the form, it means I'm going to run, right? And in his own case, I didn't hear groups. You understand? So
yeah, right.
He picked the form.
Well, we'll see. Other stories of interest. MTN, or rather telcos, as a whole, about to increase, the call rates, the SMS rates, and all the other, even data, is about to go up. So what are we expecting in the coming days? Because the other time that they have written to the NCC seeking, a review of all the charges that they charge on calls, on data, and SMS, and all of that. That too is also a conversation we're going to have on the program today, much in details. But for now, that's what we are seeing. Now, they said 36 levies, taxes hanging on MTN, Glo, Airtel, others, according to their association.
And once all these levies come on these people, they just transfer it to the consumers.
True.
So we are the ones that will pay.
Which is one of the reasons why they are
asking for the
the tariffs and all that. But well, I guess that the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war will continue to be felt in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Specifically because over time we have become
been dependent.
Very dependent on imports from that axis of the world. So,
and it's times like this that makes you wonder, when we talk about diversifying, when we talk about trying to grow our own products and try to be more independent, I hope that we take that more seriously.
And if anything, the COVID-19 as well, and this Russia-Ukraine war
tells you that anything can happen at any time.
Would have exposed us to see that, look, really it's very important that we are self-dependent in some of these things, so that we do not expose ourselves and put ourselves in positions where we become very vulnerable.
Sadly, Ayuba, what happens is that when these things happen at the onset, we'll say, oh, it's time for us to be independent and all of that. After a couple of, once it's over, we'll just go back to our usual self. Everybody forgets until another disaster happens or another crisis, and then we start talking about it again.
Really? Quite a sad one. Well, we'll take a look at now the stories on the front pages of our newspapers shortly after this breather. Please stay.
When the situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. And if you're just turning, you're watching Daybreak. Time now for us to take a look at another look at our newspapers, the stories on the front pages of our newspapers. This time around with our newspaper reviewer of the day, the director, Daily Trust Foundation, Theophilus Abba. He joins us to talk about some of the stories here. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
Thank you very much. I'm envious of you. You are looking so gorgeous.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for giving the opportunity to join you to discuss these issues.
You're looking good as well yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll begin with Daily Trust newspaper. And the lead story, as earlier read, confusion as Jonathan rejects APC presidential forms. The writer says he joined ruling party in 2021. Northern governors paid for forms. Mieti Allah denies involvement. Ex-president did not authorize purchase. That's according to the spokesman of the former president. Silva Ayade Lawan pick forms. Court declines Emefiele's request, summons INEC and AGF. You have directly below the masthead, Sokoto, Zamfara, government schools not registered for SSCE. That's according to WAEC. Aviation fail. Airline operators to get 3 months supply at 480 Naira. That's according to the LNPC. The pictorial there basically shows you the letters that were written by Heritage Bank notifying the All Progressives Congress of the sum of money credited to their account on behalf of the former President Goodluck Jonathan. Clearly you would see first transfer 70 million Naira, and then the next one 30 million Naira. So in 2 separate places, one for expression of interest forms, and then the other one for the nomination of...
Totaling 100 million.
Nomination form, yes, totaling 100 million Naira. Below that, you will see students threaten showdown as ASU extend strike by 3 months. So you could see that while we deal with the nomination and purchase of nomination forms of that amount, we have yet another group, just beneath that, students that are, struggling with their education right now on pause. At the very bottom, also other stories. Man rapes Facebook friend, threatens to release nude pictures. NATO demands compensation for truck burned in Anambra. The next story, Abuja Kaduna train attack victims, families seek negotiation with terrorists. These are the stories on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. And
maybe we'll just take one more paper before we go to our reviewer. And the Nation, the Punch newspapers, it says presidential bid, INEC, CBN partnership under threat over Emefiele's APC membership. It has a rider. Commission to review CBN's role may move ballot papers from bank's vault. CBN can't be trusted with sensitive materials under Emefiele. This is coming from the NBA and CSOs. No fear over Apex Bank governor's presidential bid. This is from an ex-INEC commissioner. We have another story here. Refineries probe. Rebs grill Silva Kyari today. Say appearance compulsory. Fair queues persist in Abuja. Petrol sells for 300 Naira per liter. APC rules out imposition. Group speak Jonathan Lawan's farms. And we also have a pictorial there with the caption, ASU strike, students protest in Lagos, Benin, vow to storm National Assembly, airports. And then we still have a story here, an update on the attack along the Abuja-Kaduna rail track. Abducted train passengers' families seek government's intervention. Then we have this other story here. Tinubu Atiku lobby delegates promise to tackle nation's disunity.
All right. Now, before we quickly take a look at the perspectives to this, let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune. It also has another angle of the story. It says, raise for APC presidential ticket. Fulani Group pays for Jonathan's forms. Emefiele confirms ambition. That's how the Nigerian Tribune captioned that story. It also has other stories there. Anger as ASU extends strike by another 3 months. You'd also see bridging cost, logistics cause of fuel scarcity, according to the marketers. And there you have also families of train victims under captivity protest in Kaduna. Sit at home affects UTME in Southeast. And then you also see at AWO's 35th patronal service, you would have political class united to have power not to save Nigeria, according to Cleric. So from these three, we've seen different slants to the same story, particularly the lead story about the Jonathan saga. The Nigerian Tribune has an angle that I'm wondering why the ethnic coloration given to that story. Ethnic group pays for Jonathan's forms. So, I mean, Fulani, do you have to like paint it in that manner? That's something that I'm wondering.
Okay, I think it speaks to the fact that even the media is divided and could be unethical, you know, when doing their reports, you know, because basic ethics will require that you don't demonstrate bias, you know, by saying Fulani group, you know, you're actually saying that, oh, it is not appropriate, it is not proper, that there's mischief in the making. You're also saying that there's a kind of conspiracy, or you're also saying that it is wrong for this group to have purchased the nomination form for Jonathan. In a country that is united, you know, you wouldn't see this kind of coloration, you know. And I think, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the editors, you know, perhaps they have their agenda, but I think it is against the ethics of journalism to cast such headline. But my worry is the fact that, you know, 100 million naira, you know, could just be paid on behalf of somebody who does not even appreciate it.
But Mr. Abba, couldn't it be that the editors felt that Jonathan is from the south, Fulani group is from the north?
Yes.
So is it possible that the editors are trying to say, oh, this man is so accepted that the people buying this form are not even from his own region? Is that possible?
Well, you know, from the background of whatever will happen, looking at the context of the political situation in this country, you know, it does not really mean that the editors are clapping hands for Jonathan. You know, he tried to say, look, there is an agenda in the making. If you say Fulani group, perhaps, you know, ordinarily, we say a group buys form for Jonathan. It's okay. Why must you say it's a Fulani group that bought the form for Jonathan? I don't think.
All right, now
I think there is bias there.
Yes, another perspective that the Punch newspaper is now putting across is about the impact of this on our elections. You know, for instance, the story about the INEC and CBN partnership under threat, talking about the Emefiele's own candidacy. It's clear now to everyone that he has actually shown interest in running for the office of the president. So the Punch newspaper puts it that INEC CBN partnership under threat over Emefiele's APC membership. So yesterday we saw that he has gone to court, you know, for the court to make it clear that he reserves the right to contest, you know, in that election of 2023. So if you think about the implication of, you know, some of these, the form purchase and all that on our politics.
No, okay, I think we have to distinguish between INEC, CBN, and Emefiele. You know, CBN is an institution, and the relation between INEC and CBN is this, that the sensitive election materials are deposited at the CBN's, what do you call it, votes, for security purpose. Now, it would be too simplistic to assume that simply because Emefiele wants to be president, those sensitive materials will be compromised. I think there are guidelines.
I mean, is it not justifiable to have that argument? If you think about the fact that, having a partisan person, at the helm of affairs of an institution that is supposed to protect, that ensure the safety of election materials, is it likely not to be compromised? Is it likely not to affect the credibility? Because, people must be able to see that the elections are credible. They must believe that the elections are credible. So every opportunity or everything that will likely give reason for people to begin to cast aspersion on the process is something that should be wary of.
I think there has not been any time when the CBN governor was not partisan. Every CBN governor was appointed from among loyalists of the ruling party over time. When Obasanjo was president, he brought Chiroma as CBN governor. Now, when that was in, I think, 1999. When the Emir of Kano, I don't know whether it's called former Emir of Kano, but Emir of Kano, Sanusi was CBN governor. He was not non-partisan. And Jonathan brought in Emefiele, I think. So Jonathan brought him. It was not a non-partisan position. So what I'm saying that there has always been an element of partisanship.
And the CBN governor is arguing that. He says he's a public servant. He's not a political appointee.
No, I think his lawyers are just making money from him, because the denominator between public servant and appointed appointed politician, or appointed official is the same word, appointment. If you are not elected, then you are appointed. Even if it's a job, you are given an appointment letter. So there is no judge who will rule in his favor to say that, look, he was not appointed. He was appointed, even though he didn't just fly from Zenith Bank to CBN and become a governor of the CBN. He was appointed by the government in power. The same way the ministers were appointed, And
in any case, some will even argue that even as a minister, you're a public servant, isn't it?
The minister is a public servant. And that is why El-Rufai wrote a book, The Accidental Public Servant. He definitely, he doesn't have any argument as far as that is concerned. And I'm advocating that, you see, if he knew he doesn't have the strength to win an election, if he knows that his job as CBN governor, will be threatened, or he will lose on both sides, it's better he forgets the presidential ambition, because he has to choose between the two. You cannot eat your cake and still have it. The law says that you must resign. Yes.
Yeah, so because you even said that, you mentioned some people and said that they have been partisan, and I agree. Every Nigerian will have a leaning towards a particular area. However, in all of those times, none of them came this far. None of them bought forms, or people bought forms for the person. In fact, as yesterday, I saw a picture of vehicles with the picture of the CBN governor on it, campaign vehicles.
Yes.
So none has come this far.
Yes, that's right. But they didn't come out to seek election as governor or as president or senator. This, what Emefiele is doing now, is actually odd, as far as I'm concerned. And if I may veer off a little bit, you see, the economy is in shambles. You understand? The monetary policies of the CBN governor is not helping us. You see, the CBN is supposed to control inflation. Everywhere in the world, two things. The CBN must control inflation. The CBN must ensure employment. Now we are debating about the percentage of Nigerians who are unemployed. And we are talking about 35% to 50% of Nigerians being unemployed. And then this CBN governor wants to be president. It is not the right thing to do. He should think, of how to fix the economy. He should concentrate on the job that he has at hand at the moment, instead of seeking to be president.
Others are also, looking at this story, the fact that the former president now, Goodluck Jonathan, rejecting the APC presidential forms, What does that say about this new trend of groups buying forms for people, you know, even without the consent of those people? We are seeing people declaring intention, even buying forms for the election, even before declaring intention. People that we've not had in at any time that they are, you know, eyeing the office of the president. All of a sudden, we hear that they have gone to the secretariat of the APC and picked a form and that they have paid and all of that. Quite a number of them. What does that say about this new trend?
Okay. Wait, as follow-up, before you answer that question, are you convinced that all these people that they have bought forms for did not know about it? They were just sitting there and the forms appeared?
Okay, of course. There is, what we call sequence of activities that led to this issue of form for Jonathan. You know, he's been going to the villa, he's been meeting with some APC governors, APC leaders, and we heard that he wanted to be officially invited by the president to join the party before he agrees. What that tells you is this. It means that he is interested, you know, and it is because of his interest that a group will decide to buy the form for him. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Right. Now, it's just like go through the Bible. You say Eve and the fruit, the fruit. What do you call it? The fruit in the garden. You know, the devil discovered that this woman became interested and decided to sell it to her. Now, you see, if Jonathan had said clearly, I don't want to run for presidency again, nobody will buy a phone for him.
But I think that has been made clear by the spokesman yesterday.
Well, maybe after other strategies failed, after, you know, when they discovered that, look, he doesn't have a thoroughfare, you know, to the presidency. He won't be given a ticket like on a platter of gold. That is why, they are coming out to say, look, we didn't ask anybody to buy the phone for us. Because I'm feeling strongly that if he hadn't shown interest, if he had come out openly to say, I am not interested, nobody will go and put money together to buy the ticket.
Well, can we really establish that he was actually interested?
That's why I talk about the sequence of events.
Being, more of, we've heard that speculation.
No, if you say no, it will be very clear. I am not interested in being president. Everybody will hear that. Nobody will now want to entice you with the form. Well,
Mr. Abba, when people met with Jonathan, the former president, about 3 weeks ago, he made a statement when they asked him about his, ambition and all of that. He said, watch out. Mm-hmm. What do you make of that?
When you say watch out, it means that you are interested.
And that some people, political watchers, said that place was an opportunity for him to say, I am not going to run, or I am going to run.
He didn't do that. He didn't do that. So, a lot of hanging, not being certain, not coming out clearly, is what has led to his predicament. And unfortunately, this will bring him down, big time. Because we have seen him as a statesman, we have seen him as an African statesman all this while, So for him to now begin to want to come back, I don't think it's the right thing for him to have done.
Are there other avenues that, that the former president could serve, if he were, say, for instance, interested in, serving the nation in other capacities, or maybe doing certain things that will benefit the country as well?
I think he started it, philanthropy. He had the Jonathan Foundation, which is philanthropy. You see, if you've been president of this country for 4 years or 5 years, you have already achieved, you already got a lot from the country. In his era, he schooled, he didn't pay school fees, maybe in primary, secondary, university, up to his maybe PhD level. He became deputy governor, he became governor, he became vice president, he became president. I think that with that, he should be contented.
But is it not about service? This is about service, not
no,
about...
there are other areas of service, like the philanthropy. I love it. When he came up with the Jonathan Foundation, I clapped hand for him, because that is the next thing for him to do. If you are not in government, you can use your goodwill, from government in Nigeria, outside Nigeria, among those who were affected when you were president, to harness resources to be able to, help the underprivileged in the society. That is a whole lot of service to the Nigerian nation. You don't need to be president.
But I'm wondering, if indeed some people are pushing him to run for this position, why do you think they're doing that? Considering that he actually sought a second term and he was defeated. And at that time, there were reasons were given for why he was defeated. So why do you think some persons are pushing for this at this point?
Well, certainly I don't know what is on the mind of those who are pushing him, But one of the issues that have come out in the open, in public discourse, is the fact that if he comes in, if he wins the election, and that's strong if, then he will serve just one term. And maybe his promoters will look at him and say, look, we helped you to be here. Why don't you support us? So I think that may be one of the reasons, why some persons want him to come, because he will serve for only one term and then leave as a president. But my worry actually is the fact that, these millions that they're talking about, you see, I just thought about it last night. 100 million can pay the salaries of 50 professors. 100 million can pay the salaries of 50 professors. Then can you imagine about 20 persons, 200 times 20. 50 times 20. You are talking of a whole lot of professors who will be paid with this 100 million. Because the APC does not need 100 million naira from anyone who wants to be the president of Nigeria. They don't need. Because the party is always funded by the government in power. Usually the ruling party. Yeah. So I think that, you see, with the way people are coming out with 100 million to buy those sheets of paper, I feel it's an insult,
Well, some people have argued that the cost of election has gone up because just the way the cost of every other thing has gone up.
Yes, but 100 million, we're talking about naira. It's a lot of money.
Well, maybe again, it's also showing us the gap or
the salaries, the salaries of Nigerians, have not gone up. And look at the devaluation of the naira. The salaries have not been increased because the naira has been devalued. The cost of things have gone up. Inflation has gone up. We know all those. But then we have not seen a corresponding increase in the earnings of Nigeria.
All right. Let's take a look at more papers now before we proceed. The Blueprint newspaper also have some very similar stories to the ones we read earlier. The one below the masthead says, ASU extends strike by 3 months. Federal government backs union. You also have the lead story. It says, as Fulani Almajiri group picks presidential forms for Jonathan, Lawan joins Badaru Yerima to boost North's candidacy in APC primaries. It also has fuel scarcity bites harder. Commuters, motorists stranded in Abuja. Also, other stories there. There are 6 levies taxes hanging on MTN, Glo, Airtel, and others. Let's take a look at The Nation newspaper. On The Nation, the lead story says, Jonathan, I didn't authorize group to obtain APC form. Also at the top there, petrol scarcity worsens in Abuja. Sokoto, Zamfara failed to register pupils for the West Africa examination. Also, you have universities, police, others get TED Funds Intervention Fund. Oyo reintroduces history in schools curriculum. That's that for The Nation newspaper. Stella?
So I guess let's take a look at this ASU strike again. Now, yesterday, after exhausting 3 months, after staying at home for 3 months, the lecturers have called for another 3 months. I mean, what's your take on this?
Well, personally, I mean, it doesn't speak well, not just for the lecturer, but also for the country. I was thinking that if the federal government has entered into an agreement with ASU and it doesn't have the money to pay, or maybe this money is not captured in the budget, You know, I don't know how much it is now. It's over some 200 billion or thereabouts. I thought that the federal government should have gone to the National Assembly with a supplementary budget. You know, if government can borrow money, you know, for subsidy, or fuel subsidy, I don't see any reason why government cannot borrow money to pay ASU. You know, because all this while, government has neglected its responsibility. If you enter into an agreement with a body like ASU to pay what they are entitled to, it's not as if they are not entitled to these things. These are legitimate earnings. If you have entered into an agreement with them, it's simple. Include these things in your annual budget. You can't ignore an agreement that you have signed with university lecturers when you are preparing your budget for every year. Since 2009, you know, you have signed this agreement and you know that you are supposed to pay. It's not like, I mean, they didn't earn it. If you look at it critically, talking about earned allowances, you know, for instance, a lecturer supervises an undergraduate project or a master's dissertation or PhD thesis, and he ought to be paid. You know, so many allowances that they've earned. If you know that, look, you don't have the resources to pay, and you have been borrowing money, you know, to fund several unnecessary things. I don't see any reason why government did not go into borrowing, number one, or why government did not send a supplement budget to the National Assembly. Because there are also wastes all over. And if you, reduce the wastes and say, okay, let's make sure we focus on this issue and salvage the image of our universities, definitely it can be done. I don't think there's anything impossible in what we are talking about.
What is the impact? Because, along the line, we're going to talk to an ASU, a member of ASU on this issue. But I would like you to talk about the impact on students staying at home for this long.
It's demoralizing.
If 3 months is going to, if they exhaust this coming 3 months, it will be 6 months in an academic year.
It's demoralizing, definitely demoralizing. I have one of my younger ones, an undergraduate. You know, she's been at home all this while. And we're discussing at the weekend. I said, okay, are you reading? He said, what am I going to read? You know, I said, look, when I was an undergraduate, ASU, went on strike, I had my book. I said, look, I'm tired. You know, the girl was saying she was tired. So, you know, it doesn't, the least is that it demoralizes the students. And many of them will no longer feel excited about their education. They are tired. And that is why, as students are saying, they will, embark on a street protest. And I think perhaps that is the right thing to do, because those in authorities, what do you call him, the Labor Ministry, Minister of Education, I don't think they are giving it the kind of attention that, that should be given to it. For instance, I heard that, for some weeks now, some months now, the federal government has not asked us to come for any discussion. You know, there should be a middle ground.
All right, now I want us to take a look at, other issues because of our time. The failed queues have resurfaced again in Abuja, and the NNPC is saying that they have 2.5 billion liters of petrol in stock. So meaning that it's not really about scarcity, but again, the marketers are saying that the bridging cost, they are blaming it on bridging cost and logistics issues as what is responsible for the scarcity that we see. As far as we are concerned, it's scarce if we can't get it from the filling stations.
That's the only word to call it.
Yes, and then the government is also blaming it on the long public holidays and the increased demand of the product. So again, one would have thought that in the last, is it 1 month or 2 months that we experienced this, some of these issues would have been sorted by now, but it's becoming more reoccurring. Is that something that we are not aware of? Is that something that we do not know as Nigerians about this?
Well, I was shocked when I discovered I couldn't even buy fuel. Even this morning while coming, I was just looking at my gauge. The fuel in my car was like, I was begging it not to finish so that I can arrive here. I think it has to do with management. you can't, you know that all Nigerians need fuel. You know, you said you needed money, you know, for subsidy. The federal government took a supplementary budget to the Senate. The Senate approved this money for subsidy. Now, we don't know why whatever they call the bridging gap payment is coming in. You know, because as far as we know, NNPC is the sole importer of petroleum products. Because they have said, look, they are going to continue to import, and the others will pick from them and they sell to Nigerians. So all I can say is that, you see, NNPC must put his house in order. Nigerians are suffering, you know, and it doesn't speak well of the leadership of the NNPC that will keep having this problem. I still believe that the NNPC should not have any reason why we should not be refining petroleum products in Nigeria. You know, there should be no reason, because we've done turnaround maintenance over the years, you know. And I'm feeling that, you see, if other, crude oil producing countries can refine, there's no magic that they do that Nigerians cannot replicate in this country to produce, to refine products.
But again, you know, the contradiction in what is causing this scarcity between the marketers and the NNPC, is it something for us to be concerned about? Because the marketers are saying bridging costs, logistics issues. NNPC is saying, no, we have this in abundance in store. It's all about the long public holiday and the increase in purchase. So I'm wondering how, like, where does this to...
They are not telling, somebody is not telling us the truth. That's what I'm feeling.
And in the middle of all of that, Ipman is warning that we should be prepared for the worst scarcity ever.
Yes, that's one of the stories on the leadership
exactly.
front page.
So,
okay, that we should be prepared. So, which means that there's something they are not telling us. There's a disagreement, somewhere, you know, and I'm feeling that, you know, the NNPC and all the other stakeholders in this petroleum distribution value chain should come together and ensure that they don't put Nigerians through unnecessary suffering, because the kind of pains we are passing through in this country is totally shameful. Apart from it being pains, it is a kind of a shame, you know, for this country to be passing through what we are passing through now. The NNPC must put its house in order.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on Daybreak this morning and sharing your perspectives on some of these stories with us.
Thank you very much.
We hope to see you again next week.
God will help us.
Yeah. Our reviewer is the director, Daily Trust Foundation, Theophilus Abba, and he joins us to give perspectives to this. We'll take a short breather now, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at more stories, more issues.
But in a situation where you find that look like
not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that